Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests, thank you for joining us today. My name is Lamia Al-Ali, and I work in marine research for the Environment Agency Abu Dhabi on board Jaywan. Jaywan is the most advanced research vessel in the region and the first of its kind in the UAE. The 50-meter vessel boasts state-of-the-art equipment and has 6 onboard laboratories, and they all pave the way for marine research in the country. So actually, the aim of Jaywan is to serve as a scientific platform for scientists, for students, institutes, and for us, the Environment Agency Abu Dhabi, to study marine research and environmental research, and then set forth policies, laws, and mitigation strategies in order to preserve our environment. And since the launch of the vessel earlier this year, we've conducted various research studies such as fisheries resource assessment surveys, we've done marine water quality surveys, and today's topic of conversation, which is air quality. So this is a notable achievement. It's an international collaboration in an atmospheric research expedition, and it was conducted on board our air quality laboratory. This was a partnership between the Environment Agency Abu Dhabi, the Max Planck Institute, and the Cyprus Institute. And I'm honored to introduce 4 distinguished speakers that played a crucial part in the success of our first atmospheric expedition. First, I'd like to introduce Ruqayya Mohammed. She is the head of Air Quality Management Program at the Environment Agency Abu Dhabi. We have Oriel Teshido, co-designer of the atmospheric expedition. And joining us online, Professor John Scare, the founding director of the Climate Atmospheric Research Center at the Cyprus Institute. And we have Dr. Stratos, an assistant professor in atmospheric sciences at the Cyprus Institute. Now, without further ado, I invite Professor John Scare to present the importance of atmospheric observation and scientific international collaborations in the Middle East region to better mitigate and adapt to climate change. He should be joining us on the screen.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Right. Good. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
All right. So thank you very much for inviting me to this session. And it is my pleasure to provide you a short introduction to the talk of my colleagues, Stratos Bourzoukidis. And I would like to highlight here the importance of atmospheric observations and scientific international collaboration in the Middle East so as to better mitigate and adapt to climate change. We know that the region of the Middle East is a climate change hotspot, and this has been again recently assessed by a research group of my institute in Cyprus, who has predicted the duration of heat waves from now until the end of the century, and highlighted that currently, until now, duration of heat waves were 2 to 6 days and will gradually increase the next decades from 6 to 12, and by the end of the century, from 10 to 90 days over the year. Not only duration of heat waves will increase, but also the amplitude of heat waves. And this study reveals that the current heat waves of 40-46 will become warmer to 44-50 in the next 30 years. And by the end of the century, we may reach heat waves by 50 to 56 degrees. And this is not so far from us if you think of it, because we are experiencing the current situation, but our children and grandchildren will live this new reality by the end of the century. This is a very famous picture that has been broadly shared by PCC, and probably many of you knows about this figure. It simply illustrates the complex atmospheric mixture that is responsible for climate change. So there is a lot of compounds in the air that either warm or cool the air. Everything that is warming here is shown in red. Everything that is cooling is in blue. However, although we know that due to human activities, the net is global warming, as shown on the bottom of the figure, there is a lot of uncertainties in estimating this global warming. And one path to reduce this uncertainty is to increase the number of atmospheric observations for better prediction. This importance of atmospheric observations, we have understood it some years ago when we organized, together with the Max Planck Institute for Chemistry, a first ever cruise that has been all around the Arabic Peninsula to perform pilot observations of air quality and climate in the Arabian Basin. To follow up this very successful cruise, the Environmental Agency of Abu Dhabi has developed a research vessel with a similar capacity, and we have been performing together another campaign in 2022 by the end of last year, providing new sets of data. This collaboration has led to a scientific partnership between the Max Planck Institute for Chemistry and the Cyprus Institute, together with the Environmental Agency of Abu Dhabi, to establish here a unique research vessel with state-of-the-art scientific instrumentation that from now on will allow us to develop and enhance regional atmospheric observations for the ultimate goal to advance climate change scientific understanding in the Middle East. With this, I would like to thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Professor John. I'd like to now invite Dr. Stratos to present the new air pollution observations from the Jaywan research vessel.
Hello from my side as well. Starting, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the Environment Agency of Abu Dhabi for giving us the opportunity to be here and present a more scientific perspective, I hope that all of you can understand, on the new air quality observations that we have performed using the Jaywan research vessel. And by saying us, I mean both the Cyprus Institute, which is my current affiliation, and the Max Planck Institute for Chemistry in Germany, where I spent more or less 10 years investigating the air quality around the globe. By these campaigns, the most interesting one was the air quality and climate in the Arabian Basin, which was, as Professor Siar said, it was the first seaborne air quality campaign in the region that yielded more than 15 peer-reviewed publications addressing the links between the air quality, the health, and the climate. And here I would like to share some key results that have shaped the future direction of our research. The first key message is that Middle East air pollution is mostly anthropogenic. And this happens both in the aerosol phase and both in the gas phase. Regarding the aerosols, we have seen that the smaller particles, which have the ability to penetrate inside our lungs and have greater health implications, are of anthropogenic origin, which give us also the message that we can mitigate this effect. The second part is the intense photochemical formation that we have observed inside the Arabian Gulf. And if you can see this picture here, you will realize that the observations did not match our models. So we don't have a clear understanding of what is happening with this photochemical formation, which means that we are missing some sources. One of the sources that we have identified was that the Red Sea deep water is a natural source of light hydrocarbons. And here I would like to stress out that while these emissions would not have an impact to our health or to our climate, when they are combined with the nitrogen oxides from marine traffic, then they are creating this photochemical smoke downwind the emission point. And fast forward 5 years later, now we have a wonderful new tool, a new mobile laboratory for air quality research in Middle East. And at this point now, I would like to again congratulate the Environment Agency of Abu Dhabi for being so open-minded that allowed us to go to the ship vessel even before it gets delivered to UAE. And there, our team from the Cyprus Institute and Max Planck Institute for Chemistry have installed the equipment and sailed Jaywan to its home, creating the first wintertime air quality observational expedition. This is the atmospheric research expedition to Abu Dhabi. During this campaign, we have crossed 8 major water bodies and covered a distance more than 10,000 kilometers. During this time, we have used in situ and remote sensing instrumentation to measure more than 50 air quality parameters. And while this session is not for discussing results, I would like to share some key messages that we have found. So in this map over there, you will see these lines indicate where the air that we sampled was coming from. So you will see that we have measured air that it's coming from the Atlantic Ocean, Europe, Africa, and Asia. And some key results was that we have seen a persisting longitudinal trend, which means that higher aerosol in the Middle East, which is something that was expected. But quite interesting is that we have seen reduced aerosol load comparing to the Aqaba ship campaign 5 years before. Another thing is that we have validated the strong hydrocarbon emissions over the Red Sea, and in general, we have collected a wonderful data set that will help us address the wintertime air quality and emissions at regional scale. And now that we have collaborated with the ID and we have thought what is best to be done for the region. So in the next campaign, we have targeted regional air quality problems. This map here is coming from windy.com, and it's a typical map that you will see if you go in a summer, during the summer and see the surface ozone. You will see this black dot in the United Arab Emirates. So this is the intense formation of photochemical pollution that I was talking about before. So what's happening here is that I guess you are all familiar with the Samal winds that prevail in the region. So Samal winds bring the nitrogen oxides from urban centers and ships that they react with the hydrocarbons from the oil and gas exploitation, and then they create this photochemical smog downwind the emission point. So what we did is that we have designed a new expedition that it was explicitly dedicated to air quality problems. Unfortunately, I can see the video is not playing. That figure over there, it's a video that indicates where the air masses that we sampled was coming from. And if the video was playing, you would see that we more or less scanned the entire Arabian Gulf, getting representative measurements for the entire region. And another thing that I would like to stress out here is that apart from the 3 major collaborators, we included more expertise from European partners to work together in this campaign. So closing, I would like to share some potential future perspectives for the Jaywan marine vessel, with the first box getting ticked, because these 2 campaigns are at the moment observational milestones for evaluating the effectiveness of the mitigation measures that will be taken during this COP. Furthermore, we can use longer observations from the marine vessel that, if they are combined with ground-based measurements and atmospheric model simulations, they have the capacity to develop Jaywan as the foremost platform for air quality research that will be also focused in policy-oriented solution, and it will be based on international collaborations. So here you can see that the Environment Agency of Abu Dhabi has made the COPs Unite, Act and Deliver, has already done that a year ago, let's say. So closing, I would like to acknowledge everyone that was involved in this campaign, and particularly His Highness Ahmed Al-Hasmi, that his vision allowed us to make these measurements, and I hope that we will be able to share more interesting results in the future. And of course, thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Dr. Stratos. So as Dr. Stratos mentioned, the equipment was set up before the ship was delivered, and they took the opportunity as it was being delivered from Spain to the UAE to conduct this great expedition. And now I'd like to ask Oriel if you could tell us about the process and the challenges involved in bringing this remarkable expedition and initiative to fruition, and if you could share insights into how you and the team brought this expedition into light.
Thank you. Thank you, Lamia. And I think Professor Jen and Professor Stratos already gave a lot of information about the scientific, so maybe I wanted to talk how we managed to do this, and I hope we can inspire also many more expeditions like that. Because from my point of view, the success of this expedition was mostly because of the science, because of the passion, and because of the collaboration. Everything started because Mr. Derek, that is sitting with us, one day sent an email to Rukai and me saying, look, I heard in a podcast that there are atmospheric emissions in the seas, and we are building a research vessel. Could we use that? Of course, we jump, yes, 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 this is unique. Getting data from air quality stations on land. Now it's pretty common in the global north, but getting on the seas, this is something that we don't have. And most of the air masses that we get go through the sea. So it's important to know what happens in the sea also in order to understand what we are breathing, and this is what Stratos mentioned to us. So from that conversation, you have to know that this was 6 months before the ship was delivered. So immediately what we decided was to create a team that could support that. That team, and that's why I wanted to share with you this picture only. But in this table, we can see scientists, we can see marine researchers, we can see the ship crew, we can see the ship captain, we can see the people that were building and following up on the development of the ship. And this was what was important. It was all the team that together co-created, we co-designed from scratch a laboratory to develop atmospheric research. I think this was something very, very unique. I don't think that this has been done before. And what I'm almost sure, this has not been done in 4 months. And this was the work that was done in a very, very short time. That's why I'm saying that science was the first one. So the scientists told us, the scientists from Cyprus Institute and Max Planck told us, this is what we would like to see. Then from Environment Agency, we said, okay, well, our main issues in the region are PM2.5 and ozone. Please help us understand more about that. And the last thing also, we thought, why we don't do it internationally? Why we don't do it from Spain? Why we don't cross the Mediterranean, the Atlantic, the Canal de Suez? So in that way, we will be able to understand also not only the local environments, we have to understand the international, because air masses move very fast. This is something that we have to know. And what happens in one country affects another one. And I think that's why it's very important that we are here in COP. We are sharing this information with everybody. And I'm sure that this will help to develop actionable measures at local, regional, and international scale. Thank you.
Thank you, Oriol, and thank you for you and your team for this great effort on the expedition. Now I'd like to invite Rqayya Mohammed to present the significance of contribution of shipborne atmospheric observations to EAD's strategies priorities.
Thank you very much, Lamia. And I may probably repeat some of the things that have already been covered by the others. But as the presentations and what Oriol has said demonstrated, that we have seen that offshore air pollution can have significant impacts on onshore areas due to the transport of pollutants across water bodies and onto land, and how it may impact populations that live in coastal areas. And as you know, in UAE, 90% of our populations live in coastal area cities. So this is a significant type of research to help us address this issue. Also, EAD's position is that good air quality is essential for the health and well-being of the population of Abu Dhabi, and is an intrinsic element that contributes to its attractiveness as a place to live and work. There are indices that we try to fulfill that make Abu Dhabi a livable city and an attractive city. And EAD's role is to protect the public's well-being by using the latest and innovative research tools to develop targeted policies and strategies to mitigate the impacts of air pollution as well as climate change. And in this initiative, like Oriol says, we asked the scientists what is the latest technology can help us, that can help us address some of these issues that cannot be met by the technologies that we have in place right now in EAD, which of course will also help us upgrade our monitoring systems to be able to tackle these issues. And so this initiative has raised the bar for Abu Dhabi by providing an opportunity to participate in a global initiative that can address not just our local pollution challenges, but cross-border pollution challenges from our neighbors. And of course, this data in the future, we hope to share with our neighbors in the region and also to the global community in all the places that, as Stratos mentioned, we crossed many bodies of water and many countries. I think it's almost 23 countries. So we hope to collaborate with scientists in those areas who don't have these kinds of offshore data about their countries in moving forward. And last but not least, I want to say that comprehensive and accurate, robust data is crucial for policymakers to make science-based and evidence-based decisions and to design effective regulations. We have to be absolutely, our regulations can work, and they're based on science, so we can set targets that are achievable and mitigation measures that are effective. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruqayya, and I'd like to thank all our speakers, Ruqayya, Oriel, Dr. Stratos, and Professor John joining us online, and thank you all for your attention.
I think we have a couple of minutes if anybody has a question. No, I think we informed. Oh,
just out of curiosity, you mentioned you crossed so many different countries and you were collecting samples there. Did you need additional permission for collecting samples across those countries, or is...
Actually, this is an excellent question. It was one of the first things that we were really concerned about. So the vessel was collecting from international waters. So we didn't cross any borders, we didn't breach any country borders. It was international waters, but close enough to those countries that scientists in those countries might be interested in that data. Okay, I think our time is up. Again, thank you very much, everybody.